The damage of Hurricane Harvey is still being assessed. Some estimates are starting to run into the hundreds of billions of dollars, surpassing Hurricane Katrina's total damage of $160 billion. One area not being talked about much yet is Harvey's impact on jobs. Kate Rogers shows us how New Orleans fared and how that could relate to Houston.
In some ways, New Orleans is still rebuilding a decade after Katrina, which left in its wake massive job and population losses for the city. Today, some 90,000 fewer people live in New Orleans, and in the first 10 months after the storm, 95,000 jobs were lost, along with some $2.9 billion in wages, mainly from the private sector. The city also had a job vacancy rate of 12.5%, one of the highest ever recorded in the U.S., according to analysts.
One of the biggest challenges facing New Orleans after Katrina was just trying to get people back in place to do the rebuilding. Because of the geography of New Orleans, it's really surrounded by water on almost all sides. There's only a couple of major highways in and out. So it was hard for workers to get back into the area if they didn't have a place to live.
During those months, more than 22,000 jobs were lost in tourism and food services, 3,500 jobs lost in port services, and nearly 14,000 jobs lost in healthcare. Meanwhile, construction thrived in the recovery, adding nearly 5,000 jobs, something economists say will likely happen in Houston post-Harvey. There's one silver lining for Houston. It's a very different city from New Orleans. With more than 2 million people, Houston is the fourth largest city in the country, and it was also growing before the storm hit. Meanwhile, when Katrina made landfall, New Orleans had a population of some 450,000 people, and it had already been declining.
One of the benefits that Houston has is the geography, is the sort of sprawling nature of the city. So just outside of those flooded areas, there are going to be places where people can pick up empty rentals, stay temporarily in vacant hotel rooms. So it's going to be a little better sort of logistically in terms of positioning assets, positioning the workforce to be able to get back in and rebuild a bit more quickly.
There's also a strong diversified economy in Houston, and the population is much wealthier. Experts say all of this makes it much more likely that people will come back home after the storm instead of fleeing the city the way so many did in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Kate Rogers.